So Aaron, you are the Assistant Vice President of Commercial Lending at the Bank and Trust.
Yes, sir.
Why banking?
You know, I don't know that I started in banking when I was 18 years old. I was a junior at Central High School, and there was a family friend that had just started the bank, because the bank started in San Angelo in 2005. And so I came along, and they needed a part-time teller, and at that time we were processing maybe 10 transactions a day. I mean, it was a very small operation. Started out as a loan production office, and then we started accepting deposits and decided we wanted to bring a full-service bank to San Angelo. And I just never I continued to grow into it. Went from teller to new accounts to management, and most recently commercial lending. So, I think the biggest thing for me is that our bank is so tied into the community. I think a big part of the banking industry in general, I guess I should say, really gives back to the community in different ways, because the community who we want to serve and we want to help, and they're who make us successful at the same time.
So that's what you like about the industry, the opportunity to help people
Sure.
in some form or fashion.
Yes, sir. Yeah, definitely.
So, like you said, you started at the Bank and Trust as a part-time teller, and you've earned promotions that have now landed you as an assistant vice president. To what do you attribute that upward mobility?
Oh, geez, I think me just hard work and going in every day and giving it 110% and willing to help others. I never was just a teller or new accounts person. I was always willing to go outside of that and help in different areas and learn different things. I think was the biggest thing. When I was a teller, I was ready to learn new accounts, and in management I was ready to learn lending. And so I think it was just me wanting to have knowledge of everything a bank has to offer and the operation side of it. And so I like to think I'm pretty knowledgeable from the teller line operation all the way to lending. So I think it was just me being eager to learn and put hard work into it.
So do you think those experience in those lower level jobs has benefited you as a manager and as a leader at the bank?
Definitely, because it allows me to see what their struggles are and what they deal with on a daily basis, and how some of us that aren't in those positions, how we can help make them successful in those positions. And like I said, there's challenges everywhere, even as a teller to new accounts. I mean, everybody has things that they have to deal with, on a daily basis. So.
In your nomination for this honor, I learned that for most of the past 4 years, you've managed the San Angelo branch's retail operation, and during that span, deposits grew by $4.5 million, which sounds like an awful lot. How did you and your team manage to accomplish that?
When I saw that number, I was surprised myself, just because we really hadn't kept up with it for very much. But looking back at the data, I think it was just our team, our customer service, us getting out in the community. Anytime you see me out in the community, I either have the Bank and Trust shirt on or the hat or something, but I'm there to educate and just visit with people and see how we can help them. In a conversation, most of the time you'll learn something, that somebody has some kind of financial need somewhere along the way, whether it's a kid that's going to college, whether it's customers having a new grandkid. Just visiting with people, letting them know that we're here to help, and try to be as competitive as we can in the market. A lot of times those deposits start really small, the relationship starts really small, and then it grows because they see the service we've provided and they like doing business with us, and then it grows. And I'd say a lot of that is probably customers that started out small, as small business owners, and have grown and developed and have done well. And then you always have your customers that have been banking with the bank for a long time, and they refer people in their family and their friends, their circle of friends, and different things like that. So a lot of it is referrals. Anytime somebody walks into the bank and they don't have a reason to come into the bank, but they don't know one of us, you kind of raise your eyebrow as to, is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? Yes, it could be a good thing, but a lot of times if somebody's leaving another institution, there was a problem somewhere along the way that we may have that same problem. So, but for the most part, I would say referrals and just our service that we provide. So,
the coworker who nominated you, and you just touched on this a moment ago, wrote that from each position that you've held, you've been able to glean what's needed from the next level of management above it. So So you're sort of looking ahead, and then when you get to that spot, then you're going back to what you learned as in that lower position.
Right.
So is that something that you do consciously, looking at how you might improve upon what's being done once you reach that next level?
I think so because I want them to have a good experience, just the same experience that I had. And like I said, there's different challenges nowadays. The banking industry as a whole has changed from when I entered it in 2005. There's a lot tighter regulations. Compliance is a huge deal now. And so all those positions, whether you're a teller all the way up to lending, you have to deal with those things on a daily basis, and trying to find ways to help them and explain that to upper management, that somebody walking in the door, you want to be able to provide them that customer service, but make sure you're getting that compliance component of it and regulation component of it. So I think I've been able to open their eyes to understand that a teller's not just counting cash. There's other things they got to be looking for and questions they have to be asking. So.
And of course, those folks are essentially the face of the operation.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They see more of our customers than anybody else in the bank. And of course, with the technology evolving, and getting, a lot of things can be done from your phone nowadays, and so branch traffic continues to decline. So you want to make sure that when people are coming in, that they're having a good experience, so they continue to come in and not just do everything from their phone. So.
Now, this past summer, you graduated from a 2-year program at the Texas Tech School of Banking. What sort of things did you learn during that time in that program that you felt like it made you a better banker?
I think that I learned the whole other side of it, what upper management deals with, interest rate risk, how banks actually, I think everybody has a general idea of how banks make money, but it's a margin business like a lot of other things. Your cost of funds and some of the, one of the biggest things right now is succession planning. A lot of these banks, you don't see a whole lot of new banks starting nowadays, and there are a lot of family-owned banks, and so who's going to take over after some of those people in the family get older and start to retire and things like that. But mainly, it was just looking at it from a bigger scope of things, to figure out the balance sheet, to look at income statements and really figure out what can we do to make things different. Is this where we want to be? Looking at assets. And looking at how to try to account for bad loans and just different things like that. So it was another opportunity just for me to expand on the knowledge of it all. So it gave me an idea that when I'm making a loan, there's more things to look at. Is this going to be profitable for the bank? Is it going to be the best fit for the customer? And then looking down the road of how those things will develop. So I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. So.
Away from work, you've been very involved in the United Way of the Concho Valley. What about their mission moves you?
I think for me, it's the fact that they touch so many different agencies. It's not just one specific organization, or I think, when I started out as a loan executive, that first year you go and you tour all those agencies. And for me, that really sat with me just because I've lived here all my life. And there's a lot of things going on in this community and a lot of needs that you just don't see on a daily basis, but that kind of opened up my eyes to see these agencies are really counting on you to be able to bring in money and allocate that money in the best way possible and use those funds wisely. But I think it's just the fact that it touches so many different agencies for me is what kind of brought me into it, and I enjoy about it. So
this is kind of a disclaimer. You and I serve together on the United Way's Community Impact Council. So go ahead, make a pitch for why you think people should consider giving to the United Way. Maybe about one of those agencies that has moved you.
One of the things I remember going to the Children's Emergency Shelter over here on Chadburn, and at that time I didn't even realize that you saw the building, you knew it was there, but you didn't really know what it did. And we walked in there, and the lady that had been there was about to retire, and she'd probably been there for 30 years. And you could just see the passion for her. I can't imagine that it's the best paying job, but I think she was there to help the kids, and she knew there was a need. And she told me this story about, I think it was a family of three kids, and that they had found them wandering the streets when they should have been in school one day, and they didn't have any food at home. Their parents weren't providing for them. And so the oldest son was actually out trying to find odd jobs and work to get money to even just purchase food for the other siblings. And to me, that to this day, I still remember her telling that story and her breaking down and crying, just because you just don't realize that, a lot of times you look past that. And for me, every day I think about that now, that there's kids out there that are struggling. And United Way, aside from, with that agency and all the other agencies, they really, I think it's a good investment for your dollar.
So when you're looking at how you want to involve yourself with your time and your service, what are the factors that you consider before you engage in a particular effort?
Really, just if I'm going to be able, if it's going to be beneficial to that organization, what am I going to be able to bring to that organization that's going to help them succeed and improve and get better? I've never said no to anything, just because there's always something that I feel like I can bring to the table, whether it's banking background, financial background, or me just being born and raised here and having that knowledge of San Angelo and its history. So, but other than that, most of the time, if somebody asks me, I'm going to step up to the plate and do it, and because I feel like I'm going to learn something from it as well. So it's going to be beneficial for everybody, I think. So.
You're also a very active member of the Chamber of Commerce, and one initiative that you've been integrally involved in is ensuring that the organization, the Chamber, embraces the diversity of business owners here in our community. And that's led you to leading a transition to and now chairing what they have now, a new sort of subset of the council, a minority business outreach council. Why are those sort of efforts of reaching out to and embracing the diversity of our business community, why is that important?
For me, it's important just because there's a lot of things that I think those businesses struggle with. I think the Chamber has so many resources available that I don't think people really realize what they can benefit from, how their business can benefit from it. But specifically diversity, just because there's a lot of those business owners out there that sometimes have this idea that the Chamber isn't for them, that you have to be dressed like you and I are today to attend some of those luncheons, and that they feel out of place and different things. So I'm trying to bridge that gap for them to realize that it doesn't matter if you're a mechanic, you're a plumber. We want you to be successful in this community, and we want to be a part of that, whatever that is. And so really it's just reaching out to them and letting them know that we have resources available to them. So.
Now, beginning in January, you're going to be stepping up again with the Chamber. You're going to be serving as one of their new board members, which is a big honor for someone who's only 30 years of age. What are you looking forward to in that new role?
I'm looking forward to, again, just kind of seeing how the Chamber operates as a whole, some of their struggles and success, and just kind of looking at the operation of it and seeing, learning more about it. What else that they offer, what they bring to the table, and getting to see the economic development side of it, I think is going to be interesting. I went to a board meeting a few weeks ago, and sitting around that table, you have leaders from all different organizations and businesses, and so there was a lot of things discussed that day that I thought, well, this is how this stuff comes about, and how many people it takes to make a task, and to be successful and things like that. So again, just looking forward to being involved in it and seeing how I can help. So,
is there a particular leader who comes to mind who you feel like has had a really great impact and influence on you and how you conduct yourself?
I would say that I probably don't have a particular leader. I think that along the way I've had several mentors in banking and, in my personal life. And so just looking up to them and looking at their success and looking to see that you want to be able to do the same thing, and make a difference so that you can, for your kids down the road and for their quality of life. So, but no, I wouldn't say I have a specific one, just mentors in banking, mentors and, like I said, from church and family, friends, and things like that. So,
how do you define leadership?
For me, I define it as the desire to make a difference, to be willing to step up to the plate and do what how can you help, do your part, and hope that others are looking to want to do the same. So,
you are a dad. You're very active in your kids' activities. Is it a challenge to find the time to devote to them and maybe some of your other civic service opportunities in which you're involved, given that you also have a busy work lifestyle as well?
Right, right. I think one of the greatest things I like working about at the bank is that it's very family friendly. If my kiddo has something at school, you can, as long as the bank's covered in things like that, they're pretty flexible as far as getting out and going to those events, and they encourage you to do that because it's important. They don't want you to miss out on those things, but it does get challenging at times, and so for me, then I kind of look and see, not prioritize, but just kind of look and see, okay, can I miss this game that I've been, this soccer game or this baseball game? What is the need? Are we only dealing with 5 people at this particular service event, or is there room for me to step aside and let somebody else step in? But it's always challenging, but I find a way to work through it, so it's good.
You're a lifelong San Angeloan. Have you ever been tempted to leave San Angelo?
Sure, yeah, I have, and I graduated ASU, and I was thinking I'm going to move to San Antonio. I'm going to move to Dallas. This place isn't for me. And then shortly after that, got married and started having kiddos, and then you realize that the things, your needs change. The things you look for in the future change, obviously. So this community, I think, is great for kids and raising a family, and so we've just never left. But there's been some job opportunities too, but when you look at it, like we were talking about earlier, that fast-paced life, I don't know that I'm for that, just because I think it would take more time away from kiddos and things like that. So,
Aaron, it's a big honor to be a 20 under 40. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.